Question number 91. You are building an Azure Cognitive Search custom skill. You have the following custom skill schema definition. For the following statement, select yes if the statement is true. Otherwise, select no. The definition calls a web API as a part of the enrichment process. Option A, yes. Option B, no. The correct answer is option A, yes. As defined in the schema, we have URI, which indicates that the custom skill is calling a web API from this URI as part of the enrichment process. Question number 92. You are building an Azure Cognitive Search custom skill. You have the following custom skill schema definition. For the following statement, select yes if the statement is true. Otherwise, select no. The enrichment step is called only for the first organization under /document/organizations. Option A, yes. Option B, no. The correct answer is option B, no. The context value is set to /document/organizations/**, which means the custom skill is applied to each item in the organization's array individually, not just the first one. Therefore, the enrichment step is called for every organization object under that path. Question number 93. You have an Azure subscription that contains an Azure AI service resource named CS Account 1 and a virtual network named VNet1. CS Account 1 is connected to VNet1. You need to ensure that only specific resources can access CS Account 1. The solution must meet the following requirements. Prevent external access to CS Account 1. Minimize administrative effort. Which two actions should you perform? Option A, in VNet1, enable a service endpoint for CS Account 1. Option B, in CS Account 1, configure the access control IAM settings. Option C, in VNet1, modify the virtual network settings. Option D, in VNet1, create a virtual subnet. Option E, in CS Account 1, modify the virtual network settings. The correct answers are option A, in VNet1, enable a service endpoint for CS Account 1. Option E, in CS Account 1, modify the virtual network settings. Enabling a service endpoint for CS Account 1 in VNet1 allows secure communication over the Azure Backbone network, eliminating the need for public internet access. Modifying the virtual network settings in CS Account 1 ensures that only resources within the specified subnet of VNet1 can access it. This approach prevents external access while keeping administrative effort low, as it avoids complex firewall or identity configurations and leverages built-in Azure networking features to restrict access to the AI service effectively. Question number 94. You are building an Azure AI language understanding solution. You discover that many intents have similar utterances containing airport names or airport codes. You need to minimize the number of utterances used to train the model. Which type of custom entity should you use? Option A, pattern.any. Option B, machine-learning. Option C, regular expression. Option D, list. The correct answer is option A, pattern.any. Pattern.any is used to represent variable parts of utterances, such as airport names or codes, without needing to provide a list of all possible values. It helps reduce the number of training utterances by allowing you to generalize patterns like book a flight to airport, where airport can be any airport name or code. This minimizes the data needed for training and improves scalability when dealing with many similar utterances containing dynamic content. Question number 95. This question is part of a series of questions that present the same scenario. Each question in the series contains a unique solution that might meet the stated goals. You have an Azure subscription that contains an Azure OpenAI resource named AI1 and an Azure AI Content Safety resource named CS1. You build a chatbot that uses AI1 to provide generative answers to specific questions and CS1 to check input and output for objectionable content. You need to optimize the content filter configurations by running tests on sample questions. Solution. From Content Safety Studio, you use the Monitor Online Activity feature to run the test. Does this meet the requirement? Option A, yes. Option B, no. The correct answer is option B, no. The Monitor Online Activity feature in Content Safety Studio is designed to observe real-time content uses, but not to test sample input for tuning content filters. To optimize content filter configurations using test questions, you should use the Test Content feature in Content Safety Studio, which allows manual testing of inputs and outputs for safety levels and helps fine-tune filtering thresholds. Therefore, using Monitor Online Activity does not meet the requirement of running tests on sample questions. Just a quick reminder, if you don't have time to watch these videos and instead download all questions and answers, feel free to purchase them on Buy Me a Coffee page. I have shared the link below. Question number 96. Note, this question is part of a series of questions that present the same scenario. Each question in this series contains a unique solution that might meet the stated goals. You have an Azure subscription that contains an Azure OpenAI resource named AI1 and an Azure AI Content Safety resource named CS1. You build a chatbot that uses AI1 to provide generative answers to specific questions and CS1 to check input and output for object-enabled content. You need to optimize the content filter configurations by running tests on sample questions. Solution: from Content Safety Studio, you use the Safety Meta Prompt feature to run the test. Does this meet the requirement? Option A, yes. Option B, no. The correct answer is option B, no. The Safety Meta Prompt feature is used to guide the behavior of generative models by encouraging safer outputs, but it is not intended for testing and optimizing content filter configurations using sample inputs. To directly test and adjust content filters, the correct approach is to use the Test Content feature in Content Safety Studio, which allows you to evaluate how sample questions are flagged and fine-tune filter sensitivity. Therefore, using the Safety Meta Prompt feature does not fulfill the requirement. Question number 97. Note: this question is part of a series of questions that present the same scenario. Each question in the series contains a unique solution that might meet the stated goals. You have an Azure subscription that contains an Azure OpenAI resource named AI1 and an Azure AI Content Safety resource named CS1. You build a chatbot that uses AI1 to provide generative answers to specific questions and CS1 to check input and output for object-enabled content. You need to optimize the content filter configurations by running tests on sample questions. Solution: from Content Safety Studio, you use the Protected Material Detection feature to run the test. Does this meet the requirement? Option A, yes. Option B, no. The correct answer is option B, no. The Protected Material Detection feature is specifically designed to detect copyrighted or sensitive material, not to test or optimize content filter configurations using sample inputs. To effectively optimize filters for object-enabled content, you should use the Test Content feature in Content Safety Studio, which allows testing of sample prompts and responses to fine-tune detection threshold. Therefore, this solution does not meet the requirement. Question number 98. You have a language understanding solution that runs in a Docker container. You download the language understanding container image from the Microsoft Container Registry, MCR. You need to deploy the container image to a host computer. Which three actions should you perform in sequence? 1. From the host computer, build the container and specify the output directory. 2. From the language understanding portal, retrain the model. 3. From the host computer, run the container and specify the input directory. 4. From the host computer, move the package file to the Docker input directory. 5. From the language understanding portal, export the solution as a package file. Option A, 5, 3, 4. Option B, 5, 4, 3. Option C, 5, 4, 1. Option D, 5, 3, 2. The correct answer is option B, 5, 4, 3. To deploy a language understanding container, you must first export the trained model. So you start by exporting the solution as a package file from the language understanding portal. Step 5. Next, you move the exported package file to the input directory that the container will use. Step 4. Finally, from the host computer, you run the container and specify the input directory so that it can load the model. Step 3. Building the container is not required because you are using a pre-built image from MCR, and retraining is not part of the deployment step. Question number 99. You have a web app that uses Azure AI Search. When reviewing activity, you see greater than expected search query volumes. You suspect that the query key is compromised. You need to prevent unauthorized access to the search endpoint and ensure that users only have read-only access to the document collection. The solution must minimize app downtime. Which 3 actions should you perform in sequence? 1. Delete the compromised key. 2. Change the app to use the secondary admin key. 3. Add a new query key. 4. Regenerate the secondary admin key. 5. Change the app to use the new key. 6. Regenerate the primary admin key. Option A, 3, 4, 2. Option B, 2, 5, 1. Option C, 3, 5, 1. Option D, 5, 1, 3. The correct answer is option C, 3, 5, 1. First, you generate a new query key, step 3, to replace the compromised one while maintaining uninterrupted access. Next, you update your app to use the new key, step 5, ensuring continued operation without downtime. Finally, you delete the compromised key, step 1, to prevent any further unauthorized access. This sequence ensures users retain read-only access using a new secure key and avoids app downtime during the transition. Question number 100. You have a collection of Microsoft Word documents and PowerPoint presentation in German. You need to create a solution to translate the files to French. The solution must meet the following requirements. Preserve the original formatting of the files. Support the use of a custom glossary. You create a blob container for German files and a blob container for French files. You upload the original files to the container for German files. Which 3 actions should you perform in sequence to complete the solution? 1. Define a document translation specification that has a French target. 2. Perform an asynchronous translation by using the list of files to be translated. 3. Upload a glossary file to the container for German files. 4. Upload a glossary file to the container for French files. 5. Generate a list of files to be translated. 6. Perform an asynchronous translation by using the document translation specification. Option A 1, 4, 6. Option B 1, 6, 3. Option C 1, 3, 2. Option D 1, 3, 6. The correct answer is option D 1, 3, 6. First, you define a document translation specification. Step 1. That set the source as the German blob container and the target as the French container. Next, you upload the glossary file to the source container. Step 3. As Azure Document Translation requires the glossary to be present in the source location to influence translations. Finally, you perform an asynchronous translation using this specification. Step 6, which preserves formatting and applies the glossary, fulfilling both requirements efficiently.